Hello.
Hey, Mr. Hudson.
Good morning, Jason.
How are you?
Good. Tired.
Yep.
Been up all night.
Really?
Yeah.
What's been happening?
Well, we have had other information come into us,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm sure this is going to be breaking because there's no way that this information is going to be kept from the public somehow, some way. But we believe, Jason, that we were correct in saying that there was more than one shooter. We continue to listen to the various audio tapes or videos. We've been doing our best to break those down ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And we think that we definitely hear 2 or 3 weapons going off at the same time with different rates of fire, possibly different calibers. So we're convinced of that. There was at least 2 weapons going off at the same time, possibly 3 and maybe even 4. The other thing, too, is it has been brought to our attention a receipt for food that Mr. Paddock received on the 27th of August. So this narrative that he didn't even check in until the 28th, we are disagreeing with. And on this receipt for food, it shows that he ordered a Angus double burger, a bagel with cream cheese, a potato soup, 1 bottle of water, and 2 Pepsis.
I'm seeing that on Gateway Pundit. Is this from Laura Loomer last night?
I don't know what the source is. I know that it was presented to us, to one of the Hudson groups, and they contacted me and said that they had confirmed that the receipt was legit. That would show that there was at least 3 people that had food in that room with Mr. Paddock at least that day on the 27th.
Mm-hmm.
It was also brought to our attention that there's a very good possibility that Mr. Paddock did, in fact, get involved in some political demonstrations, and that he very well may have been involved with Antifa.
Uh-huh.
Now, we're not sure on this one. We don't have positive proof yet. But what we do know is that we have more and more intelligence coming in that indicates to us that Antifa is now involved with ISIS and involved with MS-13.
Right.
All as a result of 2 things. One, it is our belief that ISIS was created by Hillary Clinton and the Obama administration. And, of course, Trump has declared war on MS-13. We know that MS-13 is basically the army or enforcers for the drug cartels. And we know that Antifa has been receiving money from George Soros.
Right.
Now, Judicial Watch, a while back, in their own documents, they showed some pictures of an ISIS base and training camp about 8 miles south of El Paso, Texas, 3 miles on the other side of the Mexico-United States border.
Uh-huh.
And if you recall, when I made my trip to Central and South America, I told you that we saw direct evidence of a military buildup in Colombia, Venezuela, and we still see that, and we believe that a lot of that is ISIS connected. We know that ISIS has a foothold in South America, a strong one at that. So we believe that as this thing plays out, what we're going to discover is that Antifa, ISIS, and MS-13 have been or are joining together to create havoc in the United States. And we think that Mr. Paddock somehow got caught up in this and is now being used as a patsy. So think about this for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, for example, that there were 3 or 4 individuals that assisted him in doing this shooting. We've got 2 windows broken out. We've got 3 or 4 people in the room. If those individuals were trained, MS-13, a lot of people don't realize it, but MS-13 actually received tremendous training. We know ISIS does.
Mm-hmm.
And we have reported to you that something that we've been working on for several years now is how ISIS has set up a network in the United States. I'm not going to go into detail on that, but you're aware of it because we've explained it to you.
Yeah.
So think about this. The individuals that are trained, they know that they have a very limited window of opportunity, that if they intend to escape, then what needs to take place has to take place within, for example, a few minutes.
10 or 11 in this case.
Yeah, and that's exactly what took place.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say, for example, willingly or unwillingly, they get Mr. Paddock to participate. They open fire. They do this for the 9 to 11 minutes, and then everybody said, what happened? Well, all the shooting stopped. Was that a result of the police busting into his room? No, because they didn't do that for 72 minutes.
Yeah, why is that?
Well, we don't know. But here's what we do know. All of a sudden, after 9 to 11 minutes, the shooting stops abruptly.
Mm-hmm.
The police, it wasn't because the police broke in and shot Mr. Paddock. So what we think is a strong possibility is they opened fire. They shot. Their plan was to shoot for, as an example, 10 minutes. Then they killed Mr. Paddock, and the individuals that always knew that they were going to escape, they escaped and left Mr. Paddock in the room.
Right.
Now, we also know that there was an individual that was dressed like a security guard who was shot by the police.
That's the first I've heard of that.
We've been told that. Now, we're trying to confirm it, but we've been told that there was at least one and possibly two individuals that were dressed as security officers in the hotel, and that one of them was shot by the police. We don't know about what happened to the other individual, and so now we're wondering, why isn't that being talked about? So the more we look into this, and the more that we listen to the audio, and I don't think we need to go any further on that one, but there's enough information here to indicate that this lone wolf gunman is just not the way that this took place.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of evidence that seems to indicate that. In my mind, that video from the taxi driver, where it's just, people have said, oh, it's echoes, urban combat, etc. But it's not echoes. I mean, you hear gunshots that sound very close to the taxi, and then there's a several seconds pause, 10, 20 seconds pause, and then gunshots that sound very far away, like blocks away or the other side of the hotel, something like that. And the cab driver even says, now it sounds far away. So, I mean, that can't be explained by an echo. The echo doesn't take 10 seconds to come back. An echo's within a second or two.
Sure, based on distance.
Yeah.
The echo in and around those buildings you wouldn't even really, I mean, it'd be so close together that I just don't foresee hearing much of an echo there.
I mean, I could see echo explaining confusion surrounding the notion of multiple guns going off at the same time, because one bullet could echo, the sound of one bullet being fired could echo over itself and sound like multiple bullets, because that would be within like the same, near simultaneous time frame. But this is like bup, 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 and then bup, 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 bup in the distance. So that can't be an echo. I mean, that's far away, and it can't be coming through a sound system.
Right, and we don't believe that that's the case. Here's the thing: what is our president going to do about the traitorous criminals that we have amongst us?
I don't know.
Hillary Clinton being at the top of that damn heap. I'm sick of this.
Yeah.
And the closer that, I mean, I know I've said this before, and people are probably saying, "Oh, here he goes again." But honestly, the closer we get with our investigation on the Iwan brothers spy ring, and the closer Judicial Watch and others get to Hillary Clinton, and the more that Ortel discovers of the numerous felonies that have been committed by the Clinton Foundation, we see more of this. Yeah. And now we have Antifa literally threatening this country. It almost makes me wonder if they're not setting up a Tet offensive, like we saw in Vietnam.
Well, there's all this talk of something happening November 4th with Antifa.
Yeah. So what are we doing about it? Why don't we have George Soros in chains?
That's a good question.
If our government knows that George Soros' money is assisting these groups, which are absolutely against and in favor of taking down the United States, Why don't we have this man in chains? Why are we allowing these treasonous bastards, such as Hillary Clinton and others in our own Congress and Senate, why haven't we arrested them? Why are we allowing this to go on? And I got to be honest about it. This reminds me of, and shows that there is this fifth column mentality taking place. We're under attack in this country. Mm-hmm. And the unfortunate thing is we're under attack by our own people who have decided to commit treason. I just don't get it. And has anybody heard anything with all the things that are going on? Has Mr. Sessions come out and said anything to the public, even with the situation in Las Vegas?
Nope.
No. And where is our new supposed great FBI director, Mr. Wray?
Yeah, he hasn't said anything either.
He hasn't said anything either. Are they sitting in their offices playing with their ass? You know, you got to wonder, what the hell is going on?
Did you see this, what was it? I made a PDF out of it because it got pulled, but a couple of people had screen captures and stuff like that. It was talking about an FBI ISIS gun operation that Paddock was somehow an undercover FBI agent who was somehow meeting with ISIS to sell them guns, and they double-crossed them or something like that. I sent it to you.
You never know. Have we heard of that? Yeah, we're hearing some rumblings in that regard. And is it really that difficult to believe that our government or factions of our government would be involved in illegal gun smuggling or distribution? Need I remind people that our own government, the Obama administration, sold guns that ended up being utilized in the death of a Border Patrol agent?
Well, Fast and Furious, right. This was on freerepublic.com, and I made a PDF of it and sent it to you.
And what happened? What happened as a result of Fast and Furious?
Nothing.
Was there any real investigation? Was there any grand jury pulled together? No, nothing happens to these people. They commit these crimes against Americans, and nothing happens to these people.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself, how are we going to put an end to it?
I don't know.
Well, the American people are the ones that are going to have to put an end to it. I mean, I got to be honest about it. You take the far left communists. They don't have any trouble assembling 2 million people to march on Washington. But when it comes to law-abiding, I guess you could call it conservative right Americans, I doubt very seriously we could even get 20,000 people to march on Washington.
Well, I don't know about that.
Maybe it's because we don't wear pussy hats. Oh, seriously, think about it. Maybe it's because we don't have some woman who's willing to get up and give a speech, I'm a nasty woman.
What did you think about her tweet about silencers right after this all happened in Vegas? Seemed stupid to me.
Well, they're going to attack everything that they can. The bottom line is they want to disarm us. The bottom line is they want organizations like Antifa, and if people think that Antifa participants are not going through training, they're idiots. These same people that are wanting to disarm us and who speak out against guns, they're arming themselves and they're in training right now.
That silencer comment seemed particularly sort of, self-serving and, pandering to an agenda because, first of all, when you watch the video and when we hear the first-hand testimony like from Joe, you couldn't even hear it. It wasn't the sound that it didn't matter. So if he had a silencer, so what? People heard it and they couldn't do anything anyway.
Right.
It just was a pointless comment from Hillary Clinton. And
Hillary Clinton is a witch.
Yeah.
Bottom line, anything that comes out of her mouth is wicked, and it never means what the words might convey. Regardless of what she says, there's always an underlying real meaning to it.
Yeah, some agenda.
Yeah, if you want to know if that woman is lying, just look and see if her lips are moving.
Right.
We have been infiltrated. 8 years of Obama has what these people have done is they have infiltrated or allowed infiltration of our country. And I don't care if people want to get upset with me about Muslims, I don't care.
Right.
Because I don't like them. Bottom line. If you're a Muslim and you can follow the rules of this country, I don't have a problem. I'm not a racist. The thing of it is that a lot of these people are downright stinking terrorists, and we have been infiltrated by terrorists into all levels of government and the military.
Well, I think
it was done by Obama, and it was done by Hillary Clinton.
To be fair, I think that there are plenty of law-abiding citizens who follow the Muslim religion. It's the radical, fundamental Islamists.
I agree with that. Like I said, I'm not a racist, but the thing of it is that I am absolutely sick and tired of people saying, "Oh, well, we can't talk about the radical Muslim terrorist." Right. Well, there are radical Muslim terrorists.
Has there been any support to this essentially rumor that Paddock had converted to Islam?
We haven't seen anything to indicate that yet.
Yeah, I mean, that seems just like a rumor.
We've heard it just like a lot of other people have. We don't see anything there yet. We don't believe, we really just don't believe that yet.
Yeah.
But let's say, for example, that he didn't convert. But let's say, for example, that he did, in fact, get involved with Antifa.
Right.
And we know or believe that Antifa has formed ties with ISIS and with MS-13.
Right.
Well, they could drag him into it without him being converted to Islam.
Right.
And he had money, and he may have had desire, and in our opinion, if this is all true, then he was definitely used, and is still being used.
Mr. Hudson, I was watching Jake Morphonius this morning. He's been doing a lot of good reporting on this Vegas incident, and he was talking about Antifa quite a bit, and he follows that stuff. And I was just thinking, the whole Antifa literature in the hotel room, and, I don't know, something about this whole thing, it seems so set up that they're like, oh, he's got Antifa literature in his hotel room. I mean, it's like, everywhere I go, I don't have like 3D literature with me. It's like, why would this guy have the literature with him in the hotel room where he's doing the killing? Is he going to hand out pamphlets? I mean, what's up with the Antifa literature? That just seems so much like Lee Harvey Oswald handing out Fair Play for Cuba committee flyers. It just seems so set up and stupid. It just can't possibly be true in my mind.
I have a tendency to agree with you there. I mean, there's so many unanswered questions at this point. And you're right, Jason. It does kind of take on a similarity of Oswald, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting as the days progress as to what additional information comes out on this whole narrative.
It just always feels like the same thing, like Oswald. They say, oh, Oswald shot Kennedy, and here he is on the news handing out Cuba literature in front of the Trade Mart. It's like, well, how did you get that footage? And this guy's with Antifa. Here he is wearing a pussy hat at an anti-Trump rally. It's like, really? That bad, low-quality cell phone uploaded to YouTube video, somebody spotted that within a day and pulled the guy out of a crowd. It just seems, what? How did you get that?
I don't know.
And then they say he's married or he's dating this woman who's in the Philippines, and they show one picture of him with a woman who looks like she's like 20 or 30, and then the next picture is of her looking like she's 50 or 60. None of it adds up. He's got 30 guns, 20 guns, 47 guns. How many guns? How did he get him into the hotel? The other thing I was thinking about, I was talking to Thomas Paine last night, and casinos in Vegas, I don't know if people listening have or haven't been to Vegas. There's more security cameras in a hotel in Las Vegas than any other type of facility I've ever been into in my life. There's cameras covering every square inch of a casino hotel. There's no way you could get from the parking lot to the elevators. There should be so much video footage of this guy conveying, bag after bag after bag with all those guns. I keep talking about how when I shot that Slightly Stupid concert at Mandalay Bay. It was me and probably like maybe 5 or 6 assistants. I don't remember exactly how many people were with me, but we moved probably 10 camera cases in there, and it was a big deal. It took a lot of trips, and I guarantee there was tons at the time, this was 3 or 4 years ago, tons of footage of us doing that. They would have had that
Right.
immediately. Where is all that?
That's a good question, isn't it? And when you start seeing information that's either not presented, that we know for a fact exists,
Right.
and when we see that footage is not being released, or if we start seeing that footage somehow got lost, which seems to be the standard
Impossible.
operating procedure of the FBI and virtually almost every government agency today,
Yeah.
oh, well, the information is lost.
Yeah. Those cameras weren't working.
Yeah, or they just don't, or they just refuse to give it, regardless
Right.
of a subpoena, regardless of anything.
Yeah.
They just say no.
Yeah.
And this is the kind of government that we have today. A lot of these agencies don't answer to anybody but themselves. And then our legislators, our illustrious Congress and our Senate refuse to force these people to comply.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to ask yourself, who the hell's in charge?
Mm.
We have an executive branch, we have a judicial branch, we have a legislative branch, but who is in charge? If you have the CIA and other agencies, the FBI, basically giving the finger to Congress and the executive branch, then you have to ask yourself, well, who is in charge of them?
Yeah.
How is it that these people cannot be held accountable? How is that possible? How is that possible that they can't be held accountable? How is it possible that our own Pentagon loses trillions of dollars and nobody seems to care? How is it possible that the Federal Reserve, which is not, there's nothing federal about it other than the name, how is it that they can lose trillions of dollars and nobody questions that?
Don't know.
How is it that Antifa and these other groups that are taking down our statues of history are allowed to do it? How is that possible?
Well, there's been a lot of reporting about how, these are just the standard operating procedures of how any overthrow of a society goes in terms of take down the statues, etc.
Exactly. So why are we reliving history? I mean, seriously, who is in charge? So we believe that we are seeing an organized effort to destroy the United States.
Seems to be working.
Yep, I agree. Well, listen, that's all I had. I'm gonna get off here and try to grab me a couple hours sleep because, like I said, I've been up all night.
Okay.
But we truly believe that there was more than one gunman. Mr. Paddock, we believe, very well may be a patsy in all this, and that there were other individuals involved with him.
Well, I'm going to do a graphic analysis of the audio waveforms from that taxi driver video, and I'll send that to you, and let's talk a little later today.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Jason.
All right. Thanks,
Take care.
Mr. Hudson. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.